Hello and welcome back to the Cutie Art Crusaders, episode 7 for August 10th. Welcome back. We had a wonderful time last week.
A lot of feedback from people who are watching it saying, hey, wow, this is awesome, and now I've done some sketches, and here they are. It's pretty cool.
Last week we obviously showed you those sketches that we had, and we thought that was a really productive episode. Actually, when we were recording that, I thought it was kind of, I don't know, subpar. But when I was editing it, it actually came out pretty well. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I really enjoyed that episode. I was actually somewhat happy with most of the things I got to say. In the beginning, I was a little unhappy when I was trying to talk about, you know, choosing the right line and how you're supposed to use multiple lines, but it's close enough.
Yeah, Vern's never happy with his recording. Anyways, speaking of which, I should probably introduce ourselves. My name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the organizer and editor, usually, of the podcast.
My name's Burned01, and I am the special guest coordinator.
My name is Flutterguy317, and I handle art submissions and the art on the show in general.
And my name is Pinky Dash. I do all the questions and pretty much all the work for the show.
Wow. All right.
Yeah,
Okay. Why don't you just go sit in your special corner over there?
All hail the podcast overlord.
Yeah, that's it. That's right.
Give this guy an inch, and he will take 4 miles.
or
anyway, so we've got
2.5
an
kilometers
awesome...
for our...
Yeah, 2.5 kilometers.
Yeah.
Roughly.
God damn it. Yep, that is the correct... That 2.5 kilometers, I'm pretty sure that's the wrong measurement.
It's a
whatever.
rough
I'm pretty sure that's wrong. I'm pretty sure
Know what a kilometer
4
is.
miles is like 5
1
or
mile
6
is roughly
miles.
2.5.
Anyways, this is all not relevant to the subject at hand.
It's very relevant. SI units are always relevant.
Anyways, I'd just like to go off on another tangent quickly before we get into this week's theme. We had a birthday boy this week, and I just wanted to point out that Mr. Bernd Bernderson is now 21 years of age. Congratulations, Bernd. Can I get a round of applause from everybody?
Thanks.
I'm the only person clapping.
You guys are too kind.
Wow.
I was clapping too.
Wow, guys.
I was clapping with one hand.
Well, I'm not going to clap for myself.
So, Bernd, happy birthday. Did you get any, like, presents or anything you want to share?
I did. Mohep from the My Little Pony Vector Club all sent me a custom vector of my OC. This derpy face. It was amazing. Is the only like vector anyone's really like made for me or for like an OC of mine. So like that was super awesome. Getting a first one of those. And then Captain Rainbow's another awesome guy who submits vectors to the Vector Club actually gifted me the DeviantArt Premium, which was
that's
really
awesome.
Awesome. Freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
No, but I had an awesome time, had an awesome 21st.
Hey, you didn't talk about my present. I gave you a broken link.
So Bernd,
you.
sorry, New Hope was the first time. Really, is that the first time somebody's done like a vector of your OC? Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Only time?
Most of the time, like that I've spent interacting with the community and stuff is basically teaching people and doing critiques. So, like this is the first birthday I've had like within the community. So like that was the first vector.
Well, Bernd.
Aw.
You can't say that any longer because we have a little special surprise for you this podcast.
What? No.
We have a special
Yeah.
surprise. So,
Yeah.
you can thank almost all of the admins on the Vector Club for this, but we put together a little vector for you, and I'm just going to let the image speak for itself.
What the hell? Oh my god. Oh, it's freaking amazing.
So, all of the admins that you see on that
You guys
page
are
there,
awesome.
all of them contributed, and we all put together an awesome little compilation picture for you, and we want to give it to you for your birthday. So happy birthday, Bernd.
Thank you guys.
I hope you are as happy as you are in this picture.
Happy birthday,
I
Bernd.
love you guys so much.
Hugs. Happy birthday, Burn.
That's freaking amazing. I don't even know.
We'll have to give you the link for that, because I think Yonoda is a guy we actually mentioned last week,
Yeah.
and now we're mentioning him again. But he's a friend of ours, and he actually kind of coordinated this and did some extra vectoring and stuff like that. So he'll probably have that up on his page, and you can link to that so other people can.
Awesome. Well, I guess I spoke too soon. People making me stunk.
There you go. Now you have 2 pieces of art with your.
Well, this is awkward.
Yeah. Yay.
All right. Well, I think I finally found something to make Burden speechless, so I'm going to move on.
If only it was permanent, eh?
Now that he's like locked in his cage.
He's subdued now, so I can move on to this week's theme. So this week's theme is water. We mentioned it last week, but this week we have a theme of water. Now, water is really interesting because it is probably... it's hard saying it's the hardest thing because, there's a lot of hard things to do with art, but it is one of the hardest things to do right just because water is pretty amazing.
It's like wet.
It's clear, but
Thank you. It's clear and it's wet. Okay. Never mind. It must not be that hard.
Those are
fish live in it.
Those are artistic terms, by the way.
Fish live in it. But yeah, water's definitely really, really tough to get right, especially because there's tons of reflections and light refractions, if you know that term, and the way light bounces off
physics.
If I can actually get my mind together here, water's also actually really cool because of the color used in water, because it's never definite. People, when you think water, you think blue, but water can be anything when you have exactly reflections, sunsets, different kinds of water, moods of water. What you can do with water ends up being really, really cool.
And that kind of segues right into our first piece, actually, because the reflections, our first piece is called Day by Aaron JVL. And you can see these like orange and red reflections. So it's not your typical watercolors of blue or like the white. Well, you get the white in the waterfall, but you get these reflections from the clouds in the sky. And that really make it water. It's not always the blue.
Usually what we try to do at Cutie Art Crusaders is we try to start off with something quite simple and build up to kind of our end product, which is like something super awesome and fits our theme 100%. This week, we have some awesome art pieces that have to do with water. We had a bunch of people submit stuff, and we went out and found a bunch of these different art pieces, but we've got really top-notch ones. So this piece right here is probably, one of the weaker ones in our list, and it is amazing. It's still amazing. Like the way that, for example, just the water looks is very raw. You can see like vicious swipes across the canvas, but it still looks very much like water, which is hard to do. Have you ever tried drawing water? I can't.
Well, it's interesting because you can see the reflection of Canterlot off in the right-hand side. So, you get that reflection quality.
And the reflections of the mountains as well.
And the birds. It's all really well done. And I think, Bernd, you were talking about the waterfall and the stroke method used, or?
Yeah, I was talking about sorry, I'm still trying to collect myself here. The reason I really like this piece is because, again, like we were talking about in our lighting episode, it's really messy, and you can really tell that it's made in a digital medium, and you can see all the brushes and the randomization of all the different brushes, and you can see the different use in the clouds, how that's really it's cloudy. They're really soft and almost watercolor-like, but if you look at the tree, you can see like the leaf brushes and then a little leaf sweeping off there. But the water is made with just like a normal brush and just, again, like Plasma was saying, sweeps across the canvas. So what I was saying is cool is that you can tell that it's water because in the piece he creates a huge difference in between what the water is and then what the clouds are. So the clouds are that soft sort of medium blending together, almost watercolor look, which is ironic because the water, which the sky is reflecting off of, is using like streaks or just those lines in bright white, and the water is almost brighter than the sky itself, which is still really cool.
So it's like ripples on a pond or lake in this case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's like four or five different. As you said, they're separated. The trees have a different kind of technique used to make them than the sky, than the water. It's very. It's almost like an abrupt change. I don't want to use the word abrupt because that's usually used negatively. But if you look at the difference between the water and the trees, it's such a different technique used. And I'd also like to point out, like, the amount of detail in this picture is just absolutely insane. The water here, which is personally I think is quite complex. Just look at all the coloring and how it all comes together and manages to look like water, even though you're using quite streaky techniques. It's quite complex, and that's probably the least complex thing in the entire piece.
There's definitely a lot of blending in the water, which is really cool. But I mean, there's definitely a lot of blending in the clouds as well, and even in the tree. It's just like it's a different kind of blending, and it's a different kind of brush. And again, with landscape pieces like this, it's cool to see the artist's style and then how the artist makes up parts of the landscape. sometimes in landscape pieces, everything's made using kind of like a similar medium or a similar like digital or similar technique. But in this, he uses multiple techniques. He has that technique he uses for the clouds that look almost like watercolor. And then if you look at the mountains, again, it's solid streaking brush strokes that matches the style of the water. And then you have the randomized scatter brushes that are used for like the trees and then the tree limbs and branches there. And then you have Fluttershy, which is done in probably the same kind of style that the mountains and water are using with the brush stroke and blending. Yeah.
We gotta talk about Fluttershy because, I mean, as much as the backgrounds and as much as the water looks awesome, this piece is just, we gotta talk about the ponies, man. Like, that's what the show's about. It's a show's about ponies. So let's talk about the ponies.
She's so cute.
No. Despite her cuteness and then Flutterguy's favorite pony.
Thank you.
Her hair is still, it's done really nice. I like how it, it's sweeping in the wind and going the same direction as the leaves, and it's pretty unique again with the sweeping brush strokes, but again, it's not like a water feel, or like the reflection water feel. It's still nice.
Yeah, when hair's done right, it's really nice, and I think in this picture they did do the hair right.
You can tell that it's done nice if you kind of look at how it's made, how he has the highlights on like the tips and then the parts where it rounds and towards the end and like the top of her head and then her hair there, where the highlights of color are and then the darker parts of the color are. I mean, just the blending of the sun.
I think this artist actually has a couple of different styles that he uses, and he uses it perfectly for drawing your attention to the correct area, because all the detail is on basically Fluttershy and this tree in the foreground, and in the background it's the big stroke or the big brushes and the clouds and stuff and the waters, the streaky, but you get these like little minute details that also draw your eye, like with the birds or the castle or stuff like that. It's really well done.
And you got all these little shadows and shading, little bits of that everywhere. So if you have a look in the clouds up next to up next to Candlelight there, you can see there's a sort of a lens flare coming from the sun there, and underneath Fluttershy, underneath her hair, there's shadows, which you'll only see if you're looking really close.
Yeah, I like the highlights of this piece as well. And then, like you were saying, like the focus. With landscape pieces like this, it's really common to have an area in the complete background and the complete deepest depth part of the image that goes farther than you can see, where the river coming down there, and then the sunset. There's not a real sun, but the sunset, how it creates the highlight on the water, and then the tree Fluttershy's in. I'm assuming that's a tree that she's in, because she doesn't look like she's really sitting on like a bank or anything.
One with the tree.
She is the tree.
But I really like how the highlight of the color on the sides there, or how the highlights of the sunset on the edge of the tree there, I feel is done really nicely.
This is a really nice piece, and I think we wanted to include it just because, it kind of has to do with water. Water is not the foreground of this image, and it doesn't always need to be the foreground of an image. If water is in an image, actually, most of the time, it's a background piece. And as you can see here, obviously the stuff in the foreground to catch your eye, the tree and Fluttershy. And then in the background, there's another thing to catch your eye, which is, Canterlot. And you just got this water as kind of like a nice medium in between the two.
Mm-hmm. I really like the mist that he did too, like the evaporating water and the spray kind of coming off the waterfall. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Another cool thing to note is there's a couple critiques on this artist's work as well, done by another favorite artist of mine, a Cosmic Unicorn, and he goes over some of the movement and the composition and the color of the piece as well. And you can check that out if you're really interested on composition of art, or especially if you're an artist inspiring to do landscape pieces like this, and you want to learn some more things about composition. I'd recommend reading what he has to say.
Now you can get to that by going to the DeviantArt link in the page below, the description below. If you're on YouTube, you can go check out our DeviantArt gallery where it's got all of these pictures that you will see here today, and then you can go to them directly, scroll down on that page, and see the critiques for yourself. Sorry, a little self-promotion there.
Nice. Yeah.
We were moving on?
Yeah. So this is a really fabulously done piece, and but water doesn't necessarily mean or have to mean that water is like a large part of the piece or the focus of the piece. And our next piece kind of demonstrates water in a totally different way. It's actually in tiers, in I Know You Can Fix Him by Breadcrumbs. And I can't talk about this piece yet.
No, that's the same way. You know, my favorite, Rainbow Dash, Flutterguy's favorite, Fluttershy. We kind of look at this and it's like, oh man, it's so sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely you can use water in a lot of different ways. And as I was talking about in the last piece, it was used as a background, kind of an intermediate between the two things your eyes would focus on. And here, this is bam in your face. She's crying. You know it. That's it's not the main focus of it, but that is like the highlight of the piece.
I believe this is part of a series for a fanfic.
Yeah, it's got its little backstory in the description if you'd like to read it.
Little backstory?
Description's longer than like
a backstory. But speaking of, you were talking about highlights, I really like how the artist, when he made the tears, he made them pure white, and he didn't exactly give a color to the tears. He just kind of desaturated the water there, but you can make an illusion of water with just the highlight there. And I mean, I think it's done really well. But what's cool is that it's pure white, so it's like the ultimate in brightness in like the entire piece, and only the tears and then the shines in their eyes are that pure bright white. So when you look at this, the first two things that you see are the bright highlights in Rainbow Dash's eyes, and then the highlights in Fluttershy's tears, and then her eyes. So you see, like, you can kind of tell from their reactions and like their emotions, the brightness in those colors and highlights.
It really draws you to what the piece wants you to see, which is the emotion in Dash's face,
or what the piece wants you to feel, even.
And then Fluttershy's obviously the emotion in her face. Both of those are like the two focus points. So he uses those bright colors to kind of catch your attention.
And I think what a lot of artists do, by mistake, is use blues in tears. And this artist uses the white, and I don't know, it kind of highlights it a bit more than just using a blue and like a blue shaded tear, because water isn't inherently blue normally. I mean, if you
you definitely got to look at what you got in the background.
Like when you picture a glass of water, you don't picture a color to it.
I mean, this piece in general is orange. You look at the background, you look at the kind of just general feel. It's like a sunset moment.
It's sort of like a sunset.
Say it's more of a warmer yellow.
Look at Mr. Color Theory over here with his peach. Anyways, you get what I'm saying. It's not a blue piece, so if you put blue in there, it's almost like it's sticking out, but like jarringly so.
Yeah, even like Rainbow Dash's colors are really like
subdued.
It has that desaturated feel, and it has the warm colors and highlights on the outside of her body, and then it gets like the darker towards the inside.
I'd like to point out something that I think, Bernd, you'll really appreciate, and this is harkening back to our previous episode. We were talking in our previous episode, specifically for Aurora Spikel. My goodness. Aurora Sparkle, I can't talk today.
Sparkle?
It's a good thing I'm not editing the podcast. Bernd, as a birthday present, has to edit this podcast. But, Bernd, if you will, please put Aurora Sparkle on the screen right now. We were talking last week about how you can have so much detail in the main foreground and not so much detail in the background, and your brain will fill it in. Well, take a look at this piece. We've got the detail in the faces. Look at everything else. It's not that detailed, is it? Look at that tree in the background. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't even notice this until we started recording this, and I've seen this picture 5 or 6 times, but that tree is funky, man. That tree is funky.
It's definitely a really minimalistic, like, painted feel for the tree, and then the top of the tree, and even the birds in the background. But the cool thing to note here is that what I was talking about in last week's episode with sketches is almost, it's the same kind of concept with this, but it's a completely different medium, I think is the right word. So with last week, we were talking about sketches. We're talking about having a sketch and putting extreme amounts of detail in the portion of the sketch that you want to be the focus. But with this, it's not a sketch, it's a painting. It's a messy medium. So he puts a lot of detail in the blending of colors instead of like the details of lines and then substance of lines. In this one, all the detail is in the blending, the shading, the colors, like the teardrops. All of the finer points of detail that the artist wants you to notice is all in the feeling, all in the color, all in the characters' faces and bodies. And then when you have the background, it's still there, and there's not a lot of work put into it, but it's not necessary to be an amazing piece of art because what really matters is what's done really well.
Absolutely. You know, you nailed it right on the head there by saying, you know, the background, quote unquote, is not done or like well or up to the standard of the foreground, but in a way that makes it better because it doesn't draw your eye away from it. And like we said before, your brain fills it in for you. The main point of this is to look at their faces, and there shouldn't be something in the background screaming for attention because that's not what the point is.
That's definitely a really good point, because some artists, when they have a piece, they'll put maybe not too much detail into what they want to be the focus, and then they'll put too much effort or too much color or too much detail into things in the background, and it really takes away what would feel like a really, what's the word? Because finished isn't the word, but a focused piece is the word for that.
Yeah. Like last week with the Aurora Sparkle, just going back to that, with the background being very minimal and stuff like that, and like Rainbow Plasma said, he didn't notice that the background was minimal until now, because your brain like fills in the details, especially because the foreground is so well done, that you notice that, and you see the tree and the birds in your periphery. But again, like Aurora Sparkle, you kind of fill in the missing details, and I think that this artist really did that well.
It's a very important thing, and it's something that if you're a new artist, you should definitely look into, because I think one of the more common mistakes for a new artist is they immediately try to go to a piece like we just saw with Day. You know, the super complex, you got details everywhere. You know, try to just try to draw the people who are watching or people who are looking at your art, try to draw their eyes somewhere and see how that makes them look at the piece, you know. Get a second opinion on it and see, like, where does their eye go, and then shape the piece around that.
You can definitely, or that's, again, a really awesome point when making art is you have to be aware of where people are going to look when they look at your piece or what they're going to focus on. And I mean, you can change how people look at your piece of art by changing something in it, whether it be an extreme color or whether it be detail or focus to different points of it. But parts or things like that in art you have to be aware of when making your art. So as long as you're aware of that and you think about it when you're making something, it'll overall increase the or how good what you make can be.
That was so eloquently put.
You got the point across.
Yeah, I was trying to find the right words there.
Words
are hard. Words are definitely hard.
Art's much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, an amazing piece. Sad again.
Yeah, the last little bit, we were also talking about strokes and like qualities of lines and outlines in this. Another thing I like in this is the strokes are they're not like a major part of the piece. They're not a main point or a main, they don't make up.
Almost non-existent.
Yeah, exactly. They don't make up the piece. It looks like he almost made the outlines of the characters as rough sketches or under sketches when we were talking about what we were talking about in the sketching episode. And then he shaded and colored over them, but didn't completely get rid of them, and it created a kind of a cool feel to just have little bits of the outlines of the characters. Like, technically you could argue that he didn't cover them up because, like, he started with an undersketch, but I think it's really cool done like that because the show likes to use strokes to outline its characters, so in this you kind of have the half messy medium without strokes, and then the half stroke medium, or stroke style, rather, which is, again, a really cool feel to this.
Right. And messy is not always bad.
Yeah, sometimes messy is awesome. Paint people.
So moving on to our next piece, unless Bern, do you want to rant some more?
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay. So our next piece is called NATG Day 3, Pony with a Prop / Pinky in the Rain.
Can I just... okay. I think this was done for like a contest or something, or... I don't know. We mentioned this last week, but artists are not the greatest at coming up with names. What I think would be a great name would be Pinky in the Rain.
Pinky in the Rain.
Pinky in the Rain. Yep. Yeah. I'm up for that.
Which sounds similar to Pinky in the Rain.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
Wow.
Kitty's got claws.
Pinky Dash has claws this week.
That's me.
Okay, I'm going to talk about this one because I love this one.
Yeah,
and
go
because
for
it's Pinkie Pie, who is obviously the best pony.
Of course.
Go right ahead, Australian.
Okay, so first thing I noticed in this one was, why would an umbrella have a duck on the handle? I'm totally joking. That wasn't my first thing I noticed. But seriously, why would you have a duck on the handle? Because ducks love water, so therefore the umbrella would be useless. Also, she's carrying an umbrella and she's wet. But okay. Something that I do absolutely love about this one is Pinkie Pie looks wet. Like you see in a lot of your rain art and in a lot of water art, the ponies don't actually look wet. They have bits of water on them, but they don't look wet. They don't look like they've been standing in the rain. There's just a couple of water droplets on them. This one, she's all shiny. She's got light reflecting off her from that lamp there. Everything about her looks amazing. On the water side of it, that's what I've got to say because I absolutely love that. Yeah, it just looks great.
Yeah, the artist actually did a really great job with that. Like, I'd have to agree. Because if you see a character in different like pieces, and then like that character, how it looks, the character doesn't look wet. The character doesn't look like she's covered in rain. The character looks dry, but she's surrounded by rain.
That's right.
It doesn't make sense. So you have to be able to accurately create your character to look as if she'd be in the environment and she's in. Sometimes people put characters in pieces that are really brightly lit or sunny, and they look like the character standing in the dark. So just being able to accurately create or make your character look like it's in the right environment or wet or dry or whatever is, again, something really important to know how to do. So adding almost unnecessary highlights to the edges of her limbs, the top of her face, her ear there, and like water running down her face in parts where it would be, because it would collect in her teardrops or teardrop parts there, whatever you want to call it.
Teardrop parts there.
And then,
no, sorry, I don't get it. You're gonna have to elaborate.
The part in your skull that has an indent would collect water, and then you can see it dripping down there, where it looks like tears, but it's not because it's just water.
Okay.
And then her hair is clearly wet.
Joy.
Her hair has, again, excess and highlights because it's wet and it's soggy. And another really cool thing this artist did really well.
Whoa!
And
chill your roll here, boys. We need to.
No.
We got some stuff to talk about too.
Hold on.
Keep going, Bern. Keep going.
Her hair, it looks really wet, but it also looks curly. One of the things that some artists will do is they'll make Pinkie Pie's hair, but it won't look curly. It'll look straight and
it'll be like floppy, like Pikabina.
Yeah, Pinkie Pie doesn't have straight hair. Like, what are you doing? Like, if Pinkie Pie has soaked hair, she's like whipping her hair around or something. Her hair's still gonna be curly. Curly hair acts like curly hair.
Can we put that song in here right now? Like, I whip my hair back and forth.
No, we're not putting this.
You have to make curly hair look how it's supposed to look wet, and like this artist does it well.
Right. Obviously, some people have not seen when actual curly hair is wet. But yeah, it still stays quite curly. It kind of frayed, less curly. Obviously, it's not like a big poof ball, but yeah, you still got those elements.
It looks wet. It looks like it's hanging down. It's curly, but it's limp. It's all floppy.
Yeah.
And something else with the hair is if you look at the tips, it kind of looks like wet hair because like the hair's matted down and like in clumps at the very ends, but like they're separated like normal hair would be.
It looks knotted, which Bernd you'd probably know quite well.
With your long flowing mane of your own.
We have our own personal hair expert here.
Yes.
I would hardly call him a hair expert with his hairstyle.
Oh.
It was his birthday, dude.
I'm hugging my hair right now. You can't hurt my mane.
It was his birthday.
Sorry, I'll take that one back for the birthday. Is this the first time that I'm ever going to be edited out of the podcast?
Yes. I have beautiful hair, thank you.
So, anyways, can I just bring up the fact that you guys were talking about the fact that it's not often that you get to see a character who actually looks wet as opposed to just being obviously just having the hair wet or whatever. I think a lot of that comes from the fact that the ponies in the show are obviously quite different from any other kind of furry or fuzzy creature that you would have because they don't show the fur. None of that is shown in the show. It's just a solid color. So how do you show that how do you show that matted down, which is what you'd notice? And it's a very hard thing to do for artists, especially with characters like these, just because, you can't show those natural, like, when you think of like a wet dog, it's just it looks so much more different than just like all the hairs, but obviously you can't get that kind of amount of detail unless you want to do every single individual hair on the pony, which would obviously be insane.
It's kind of cool to see how this artist did that and made the character look wet because, again, like in the show, they don't show that the characters have fur. Like, they're not furry ponies, they're just colorful ponies. So in this, the character, Pinkie Pie, she's just colorful, she's just pink, but you can still tell that she's covered in water, but there's no like overall look of fur. Some artists try to add fuzzy My Little Pony characters, and sometimes it can be cute. Sometimes It just looks odd, but
That's a tough one for sure. But I think he does a really good job with like the water streaks. You can see there's like very subtle, like almost like water puddles, like on her outstretched arm by the pole. There's like a little tiny like thing there. Obviously, you were talking before about like the water streaming down her face. A lot of it comes from just the light reflections, and because obviously normally
the reflections in this piece are amazing.
Normally you wouldn't get those light reflections if someone was dry, but if they're wet, obviously, then you'll start getting that more and more reflections. So he does a really good job there.
The shadows and shading in this one are incredible. There is so much detail in the background with all of those bricks, each individually done, and you can see all the light is obviously coming from that one lamp there that Pinkie Pie is hanging off, and you can see up the top, left and right hand corners of the image, it's all blacked out so it looks like it's all coming in a circle, which it would be. And all the shadows on Pinkie Pie herself, they're all really well.
I actually have to be a little snooty about the bricks. If you look at the bricks in the top, the angle of them is straight, and then if you look at the bricks down at the bottom, the angle of them is crooked, whereas the focus of the piece sort of looks like it's in the middle. The perspective seems odd for the bricks.
I've got an explanation for that.
Go right ahead.
Ponies have hooves.
Okay.
Do you understand how hard laying bricks would be if you were a pony?
This is a decent explanation, yes.
Yes.
But no, the angle and the perspective of the bricks is a little bit odd in this piece, but the background, again, doesn't take away from the character. The only part that might take away from the composition is when you're looking at the character, when your mind sees the background, those lines of the bricks, they're all straight and horizontal, and they create this kind of stripe effect that looks a little bit odd and makes you want to look at it if you're really trying to look at the details of the piece. But I mean, it doesn't subtract from how well it's done at all.
Yeah, it only gets distracted by the fact, and I want to talk a little bit about the rain because obviously this is a water episode. But it gets distracted by the fact that there is rain, so it kind of blurs out those straight lines. I think if it was like a day scene and she was just kind of swinging around, then you'd notice those bricks more because they'd be lit up and they'd be more in the foreground. But this guy does a really good job with, if you look at the rain, he's got two different types of rain. He's got tons and tons and tons of tiny little raindrops, like a big shower, and then he's got like the bigger ones more in the foreground that are more like just like brush strokes,
or even just larger raindrops.
Larger raindrops.
Yeah.
So
fat rain.
Well,
Right, then.
whoa! Don't insult the rain, okay? It's been trying its hardest.
Well, I've always just called it fat raindrops.
Oh, really? That's weird.
Yeah.
Australians.
Anyways, it does a really
Australian,
good
how
job.
rain goes on. So.
It does a really good job of separating her from the background, because I feel like if there wasn't the rain there, it would kind of look 2D. I'm not sure what it is about it, but I get the feeling it would look a little bit more 2D. Whereas you've got almost like a layering effect here. You've got the pole and her in the foreground, the rain in between, and then the background. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk about
Another
your fat
really cool thing
raindrops.
is you can definitely the other thing the artist does well is you can definitely tell that Pinkie Pie is getting rained on. Like you can see those fat raindrops. Some of them are hitting her nose or hitting her hair and like falling off of her hair, and they actually have like direction on the way that those raindrops are made. The raindrops are actually curved, so he's giving more direction to the rain as it hits her. So like her hoof that's holding on to the light pole there, you can see how the rain hits it and it's bouncing off. And then the raindrops that are hitting the ground and then the bottom of the light post there and her arm and all of that, and how the rain is interacting with her as it's physically coming down and hitting her is also done really well.
Especially the fat raindrops.
I love the splooshes on the ground.
Also on the crossovers from Burn from a couple of weeks ago, Seeing in the Rain, classic movie scene made with ponies. It's also
there you go, crossover. Exactly.
Just to kind of go back over that hoof raindrop, it's really well done, that splash, and I think that is pretty much like the only there's another one on her other forearm, but like these splooshes are like, it's exactly what you would expect from rain, and it's like the way that he created the rain with the streaks is something that's really interesting because it shows the motion, which I guess will be another episode.
Yeah, we'll have to. So. We have like 50 episodes in our back pocket. We don't have enough time in the year to do all the episodes we want to do, but motion might be one that we do in the future.
Yeah.
Also, Ben, this will be sold at Everfree Northwest as a print.
Oh, cool. I might have to get it when I'm there. a little shout out if everyone's at Everfree Northwest. I will be there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I'll talk about the end.
All
We'll
right.
bring it up.
Well, anyway, my last little nitpick with this piece is also the lamp. The lamp's very 2D and lacks a lot of depth that Pinkie Pie has. A lot of stuff could be done with the lamp, but I mean, again, maybe the artist intended for the lamp to have that real 2D feel, to be very flat and bright, rather. But it's all intent over not intent.
Right.
Again, so eloquent. All right. I think we've run out of time with this piece of art and out of things to say. So our last piece for this episode is called Swim Coach by Harwick's Art.
And it's amazing.
And this is just an amazing piece. Oh my god.
It is one of the best pieces of photo art that I have seen, and I suggest it be on the podcast, so I win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't describe this, but there are very few times when someone does water so right. I'm a big video game enthusiast, and one of the things that really catches me is when games do water really well, because, again, like I said at the beginning, it's so hard to do, and there's just sometimes someone just does it so right. A game will just do it so right, and in this case, this art piece does it so right. I have no idea how he does it, he or she. Again, don't want to assume genders or anything, but I have no idea how they do it, but it's really amazing.
Male, it says on his DeviantArt page male, but there are like a couple of different types of water in this, and each one is completely different to each other, and they're all amazing. So if you look at the water that she's swimming in, it's different to the water that she's spitting out, and the water that's dripping from underneath her. Everything is different. It's great. And
no, yeah, I can understand what you're saying. Like, there's no eloquent way to say this, but yes, the water she's spitting out is obviously just made differently, and there's water like not to use this term again, but she's also wet all over her face.
She's moist. How about that one?
Yeah, there you go. She's. But I heard people
works.
hate the word moist. So
it makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah, some people.
Which is why I like it.
Yeah, but you can definitely tell that Fluttershy is wet. I mean, her hair is wet. She's spitting out water. She's got water dripping down her chin. She's been swimming with ducks, and it's cute, and it's family friendly. But again, to bring up a really good point when you were talking about the type of water and how the water she's swimming in is different from the water that she's spitting out, that brings up another really good point, is that there's tons of different styles to water, and this artist has a very unique style. So in the first piece that we showed, the style of the lake there was very much accentuating the sunset, but it was in a different style than in the piece regarding how it's made with brush strokes. And then in the piece after that, water is just created as a highlight for emotion. And then the piece after that with Pinkie Pie, you have water being rain and how it's interacting with the character and showing that the character is wet. This piece, Swim Coach, is using all of those aspects. It's reflecting the waters and that she's swimming in is reflecting everything. It's reflecting the background. It's reflecting her hair. You can even see a little bit of her body in the water, so you can see through the reflections. And then the water she's spitting out has depth in it, and it's done really well because you can tell that it's three-dimensional. It has what normal water would look like. It has those white highlights that the second piece had, but instead of simple highlights on the outside of the water, it has the actual highlights of the dimension of the water put into it, which is really well done. I had no idea how to make something
Not only
like
is it reflecting, you can also see through it. It looks translucent. It looks transparent.
Exactly, but there's no real color to that water. Yeah. It's just a little bit of white, and it just slightly bends and warps the color behind it.
That bending and warping is a huge part of water, and it's something that changes, it's the light refraction. I'm going to use that term again. It's basically just the way that it bends and weaves not only the shape of the water, but also the way that light hits it to create the image of, like, those subtle little waves in the water. Like if you were to go head down to like a lake and just dip in for a little bit, you get those subtle little waves. And
or just a quick and easy one. Get a cup of water. Or get a cup, put some water in it, put a straw in it. If you look down, it looks straight, but if you look from the side, the straw looks bent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a bit harder to tell because you're not quite getting the same kind of ripple effect that you're getting with, like, if you've ever been to a lake, if you've ever been to a big body of water, obviously
I live next to an ocean, so yes.
Yeah, it's barely ever calm, but there's some really nice lakes you can go to, and it's got this like very subtle. What? Oh wow! It's got this. It's got this really subtle like flow to it. I don't really want to.
I know.
Motion to the ocean.
Flow and eddies.
The flow to
currents,
the water. Disruption to the top of the water. How it looks. It isn't flat. It isn't perfect. It isn't still. It has something interacting with it. Normally, it's wind. Sometimes it's current. What have you? But in this, maybe she's in a stream or a pond or whatever. What have you? This when I was talking about style, I mean how the water's done is really unique to the artist's style. Like, water can be done hundreds of ways, and this artist just chose it to do in a really unique way that we thought was worth highlighting. So, but I mean, trying to stray away from water a little bit, because we've talked about it a lot in this piece specifically, everything else, like the blending of the color, we were talking about detail. Now, it's less subtle in this, but if you look at the amount of detail put into Fluttershy, the amount of shading and color blending put into Fluttershy, and the amount of detail put in the ducks, even that duck giving a little odd face there's a lot of detail in there, but if you look in the background and the leaves in the background, there's less detail. There's less subtle detail in the background. Even in those, there's barely any detail in the leaves underneath that rock in the little cave there. So this is the same concept I was talking about, just applied in a different way and applied a little bit less subtly, to where the things in the background that the artist didn't want to be the focus, they're less bright, they're more desaturated, and they have a lot less detail, but it's still done really, really well. And then the color of the stuff in the background isn't taking from what the artist wants you to see. So in this, Fluttershy is really bright. You have that reflection on her hair, reflection on her head, and things like that. And even the highlights on the ducks, and then your eye is drawn to those, and it sees those, and it really likes looking at those. And then you have the colors surrounding it that are less subtle, but still have a really, really good tone to it. But it's done really well.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
Too long, did not listen. It was done really well. No.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just to like kind of go into how much detail they put into Fluttershy. If you look at her cheek, you can see there's some like splotches of lightness, which is the reflection of the light from the water. At least I'm assuming that it's that. And it's like, because the direct light wouldn't be hitting that. You see that on the top of her cheek. There's like this big spot of white, which is where you'd get the light, and the bottom of her cheek is in shadow technically, but you also get these reflections off the water, and they like give this ripply kind of effect on her cheek.
That's still something I have yet to grasp, is ambient reflecting light. I tried to talk about it a little bit in our our lighting episode, but the light isn't just what hits a character or hits something. Light also hits other objects with other colors and then reflects onto other things around it. So just like you were saying, on the bottom of her chin, there's that green there being reflected from the water. And even on the top of her hair there, you can see the light being reflected from the little ducklings. And like other things in your background, if they're brightly lit or somewhat of a focus, will reflect onto things in your foreground as well. And the artist does a really, really good job of combining all of the colors into the piece and reflecting onto other parts of his piece.
Why do the ducklings look sad? I wouldn't be sad.
Because they're ducklings. They always look sad. It's a sad little duckling.
I wouldn't be sad if I was playing with Fluttershy.
I feel sad.
I think the duck in the middle looks confused. Probably about what we've been talking about this whole episode. Go ahead.
I feel sad for saying this because I encourage everyone who wants to go out and start making art to go out and do it, because you can do a lot more than you think you can, and you can become much better than you think you can. I didn't think I had any propensity for art, and I still don't think that, but I've gotten much farther than I ever thought I would make it, and I'm sure with practice I could get even farther. But man, with pieces like this, I find there's no way that there can't be some sort of natural talent for this, because I think some people just get it. I think some people just have a natural, they're just good at getting this lighting down and getting the water down.
The thing is, I have to disagree and say that you're completely wrong. Like,
there's
so much that goes into making this piece that I personally feel that the artist is aware of. And even if he's just naturally amazing and did it amazingly, if someone practiced enough and learned enough things about how to create a piece of art like this, there's no reason why that artist couldn't make something along this level. This artist just has a simple style and everything's executed like pretty simply. I mean, all of the colors are blending together really well, but it's the parts of this piece that you might not notice unless you're really looking for it, or unless you're trying to critique it or talk about it or go as in-depth as we do. So, like, again, the strokes of everything on the characters, like even the ducks have little outlines and strokes, and then Fluttershy has strokes, which I didn't even notice before, which is kind of cute because the show does that. The living things have strokes, and then the non-living things don't. So the stuff in the background doesn't really have strokes, but maybe the leaves off to the right have highlights. But things like that, and being aware of what you make in an image will make your finalized piece of art. Like, sure, there's inherent talent of someone who makes a pretty image, but it's just because they know in their head what they want a pretty image to be. But it is perfectly possible to go out and learn what it is to make something beautiful and what makes something beautiful, and learning how to make that.
Yeah, you know, but that's something that amazes me about art, is taking a look at something like this and saying, you can get there. You know, this isn't the Olympics. Staying relevant on topic, this isn't the Olympics, you know. A lot of hard work will get you to the Olympics, but you know, some of it, you know, I'm not going to be able to make it to the Olympics because I'm a short, scrawny, blonde-haired kid. But giving too much information about myself. But you know, it amazes me just sitting here and looking at this and saying, you know, you can make this with time, with effort, and with a little bit of passion. You can make this, and that really amazes me with art.
Well, that's the thing, is that you can't.
Well, I can't because I'm horrible at art.
I can't because, but see, that's the thing. That's what everyone says. I can't do blah blah because I'm trying art. Like when I took my first art class, I had always said like I wish I could make more beautiful art or whatever, but I had never put in work into it. Put an entire semester into making, like, actually really trying to make good art and learning what makes decent art. I made some pretty amazing art, and my teacher actually let me know that I did an amazing job at this and I shouldn't be taking intro-level art classes. So, like, that was something I'm proud of and something I worked really hard towards, because when I look at art, I try to look at what makes it good and then replicate that. But again, like, art's a practice, art's work.
All right, well, isn't that wonderful? I've just got your keys for the cage here, so I'm going to just... I mean, I don't like to do this, but I requested the keys specifically for this episode. So, Flutter Guy, if you'd like to...
Fine, then.
Yeah, one last thing, kind of on a related note, is if you're going to try and create art with this kind of realistic style, go take a look at nature. Like, go see how shading is done in nature. I know, you know, we're drawing cartoon ponies, and you can't find cartoon ponies in nature, but the shading and the lighting is all there.
Yeah, wait a second. Wait, what?
Oh.
Can't? What? What have I been doing every single Sunday night?
Well, not yet.
Someone's lying.
Well, no, I'm coming out of my cage here. That's a really good point.
He's broken the lock!
Shut up! To go look at art, to go look at nature like that. But again, going back to learning how art is made, in this piece, like in stuff in the background, like that playing off to the right, I mean, it's simple shading and simple colors, but they're combined in a way that makes a really good piece. And then they're just highlighted on the edges to make them three-dimensional, with the bright highlight of the green there to make something that looks really cool. Especially like the bamboo leaves in the background and Fluttershy's hair. Whatever.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up.
Sorry, I've actually got his medication here. And
lock him away.
You can't make me take it.
Does somebody want to just kind of outro us out here while I chase him down and stab him violently with this needle?
I think we have questions, don't we?
Yeah. Well, we have like no time for
yes.
questions. So can we get like maybe one quick question?
We've got 8 minutes. Let's do this.
All right. Well, you know what? No, you know what? Bernd, you're editing this podcast, so we can go for as long as we freaking like.
All right, I like this.
So let's move on to questions.
Okay, let's do this. All right, question 1 that I've got this week.
2-hour episode. I like where this is going.
What kind of execution or detailing finishing does each one of you prefer? Do you prefer things like finished pieces, or do you think something like a sketch, which is intentionally missing bits of details, can be a complete piece in itself? This question sent in by AI Monkey, who was in our IRC chat for our premiere, which is awesome.
Bernd, you're limited to 2 minutes.
I'll let you guys go ahead. I'll let you guys go ahead first because
You're limited to 2 minutes.
I have lots to say about this question. So go ahead.
Can we line up the music to play when he's talking?
Oh boy.
Like some sort of like a curtain call
ceremony.
music. Well, I'll go first. I love the sharper pieces, to be honest with you. You know, blended pieces like the stuff that we've seen here today is really awesome. And, you know, I don't underappreciate them at all, but there's just something about having those solid outlines. Maybe it's like why I like the show so much, but having those solid outlines and having those kind of clear-cut edges is something that I really enjoy. So I personally prefer the sharper edges.
I'm going to go next because I never get to. I'm agreeing with what Roboplasma said. All the ones that we've shown here today, like the ones that are huge, epic pieces with all the blender stuff, like the one that we showed the other week that Celestia in Discord and Luna, the fire episode, stuff like that. It's all amazing, but it's just too much for me. I can't focus on something like that because there's just too much going on. I love sketches. I love Joey Darkmeat stuff. I love Specky SY stuff. All of that sort of stuff that's really simple. I love the simple style. That's probably why I like the show so much, because it's all really simple stuff. Mm-hmm. The sketches, in terms of sketches, I like pretty much anything to do with sketches, even just the messy sort of no set outline sort of thing. I like it all. Just the simple stuff I love. That's my
less is more.
Now. Less is definitely more.
That was really short. Wow.
Go ahead.
Compared to Bernd.
Get to my part.
Other guy?
I love anything that's kind of amateurish. So I do like sketches. I like these kind of messy pieces of art because they are like finished pieces of art. But you know, there's still that graininess to them that gives it this like amateur appeal almost. It's not like professionally done quality, and I kind of really like that in a piece.
Well,
all right, let's go, boy. I'm timing you.
Yeah, right. I personally, let's see, what kind of execution detailing? I really like depth in execution, or what's a better way to reword that? Something that it has a really finished feel, yet it still looks unfinished. So just like I was talking about in the sketching episode, where you can have something that has an extraordinary amount of detail put into it, it can still look like a finished piece with a lot of lack of detail in other places. So my favorite kinds of art, or rather execution of art, is the art that's the in-between. So like Aurora Sparkle, or like my favorite all-time artist, Blitz Pony, which I've been meaning to work into an episode.
Here we go.
Whether it kills me.
Firefly on this.
The reason, it's relevant. The reason I love that piece so much is because it has so much detail put into the shading and in the highlights around the character in her piece, but yet the lack of detail in the fireflies around her and then the background around her. So in our second example in this episode, I really enjoy that piece because it has detail put into the focus and then lack of detail in the rest. I like pieces like that play with the execution, that have portions of the image executed to its fullest and then other portions purposely left less executed. But I also love sketches and blah, 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 blah.
All right.
And ultra realism is always nice to see, refreshing, since the show doesn't do it. Yeah. But that's my rant.
Want to pull another question? Because we got lots of time. It's Bernd's time, so this is lovely. I love it.
Yeah,
Bernd, you want to edit the podcast every week?
I got a date, man.
Shut up. What's the next question?
So once again, that question was sent in by AI Monkey, who was in the Everfree radio chat. Something I will say about that last question, anything with emotion in it is amazing as well. So it doesn't matter what style it is, anything with emotion in it, I love.
I am a very emotional little filly, and so I agree.
Yeah. You know.
Mm-hmm.
He's a
Thought you were
silly,
silly.
emotional filly.
It's
It's
an emotion.
sad filly. Okay.
Uh,
Next question is, what are your favorite styles of art, and have you come across any pony art that really hits you? This one was sent in to us via email, but unfortunately they didn't leave their name. So I can't actually say who you are because I don't know. So if you're sending something into us, please leave your name or your alias, your internet name, so that I can refer to who you are. Yeah. So unfortunately, no name. Who wants to go first? Flutter guy.
Sure. I mean, like I mentioned before, I like that really messy medium of art. Specifically, like Specky SY. That stuff is really, really cute. Especially
Yes.
Carmel Danson, his Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie. If ever I'm having a bad day, I just put that on, and it's wipes away all this sadness. Yeah. So that's probably the
I'll
piece
go
that
next
hit
because
me
I
the
want
most.
to. On the same sort of subject, Specky SY, who is one of my favorite pony artists. You've heard him mention me a few times. He's also Australian, so he's cool. He does a lot of that really simple stuff, and Flutter Guy mentioned his Caramel Dancing animation. I'm going to mention his other one, his Hearts and Hooves Day animation. If you go to his DeviantArt page or his Tumblr and you watch that, have a box of tissues next to you because it makes you cry very manly tears. Even if you're female, it's manly tears. And then go watch the Caramel Dancing one to cheer up because you sort of can't not watch one without the other because they work so well together to cheer you up afterwards. It's an animation done in his very simple style. There's no actual there's only one frame that's sort of movement. It's all individual frames, like still images put together, but it's really, really effective. And like I said before, anything with emotion in it, and there's so much emotion in that animation. There's also a few still images which I've seen on DeviantArt that I love, but I can't name them off by heart because I don't actually know them off by heart. But anything like that, a lot of Pinkamena stuff I really like. I don't know, I'm strange.
Bernd, would you like to go?
I would, actually. Tying back into the point I was making earlier in our last question about execution, again, I really like styles of art that play with that kind of execution. So again, referring to my favorite artist, Blitzpony, and her piece, the reason why I love that style so much is, well, because of the execution and the detail put into the outlines, but I really like this that specific style to the artist of how she puts really bright outlines along the outsides of the character, and she plays with that in that the outlines don't really match anything. They're almost just there to be bright. They're there to make the character stand out. They're like opposites. They're completely almost uncalled for in brightness, and it creates the character to just pop. And I love that style. It was on that style in our fire episode with the lantern. I forget the name of that piece. But that artist also played with the outlines and colors of the outlines to make them pop and added more than what was just there. So I really like that style. I really like the style of art where the artist will purposely play with kind of rules of art or the rules of colors and kind of do something the opposite to make it just pop out at you.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm last.
Okay.
People who don't know me very well do not know how much I'm obsessed with Rainbow Dash. I'm quite obsessed with Rainbow Dash. That's my picture on DeviantArt. That's half of my name. So when I'm usually feeling down, or when I'm bored, or anywhere in between, I usually surf for pictures of Rainbow Dash. So if you're asking me,
that could be dangerous.
Go on.
Wow. So if you're asking me if there's stuff that usually that's like my favorite or whatever, it's so hard to describe because I have maybe 50 or 60 Rainbow Dash pictures that I love, and I need to put them together into like my best of the best category. I really do. One thing that I've noticed lately is I am quite the hopeless romantic, and I am an emotional filly in that regard. And even though I swore that I would never do it, I've actually been kind of getting into like the pairings in the show. So you guys on the podcast know, but I'm quite adamant for Soren Dash. So any kind of picture with Soren Dash usually hits me pretty hard, and I think it's pretty awesome. So
Especially Ragtag.
Yeah, Ragtag. We showed in, what was it? Was it the first or the second episode? Second episode. The one with like the Ragtag and Shooting Star, but yeah, any kind of, I guess if you want to get one that hits me hard, any kind of Soren Dash one usually gets me, and most of the Rainbow Dash stuff in general.
What about Pinky Dash?
Nah, that's
that's more of style in characters that are paired rather than style of art. Do you have like a style of art that really pops out?
Right. No, I was just talking from stuff like specifically in the question. I know the person, whoever didn't leave their name, they said, have you come across any pony art that really hits you? And so I wasn't really talking about the style of art. I was just talking about like specific pieces of art that like.
So instead of like a style of art, but more the flavor of
what the subject. It's usually the subject.
Oh, that's perfectly relevant.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, did want to point out something. Bernd, you showed this to me right before we started recording this podcast, but it's currently my new favorite image. It is "You Feel Like a Cloud" by Matakable, and it's just like a first person hugging with Rainbow Dash, and it is freaking.
Can't believe you hadn't seen that.
Adorable.
Did I miss that? I think I missed that.
I was joking around because I linked it because like this has water in it, right? Because there's a little bubble come out of her nose because she's sleeping. I'm the editor now, so I'll throw it up on the screen for you. But,
You're right.
I do again like that style of art because the strokes on it and all the outlines, they really pop. They really play with that, and it's not really exact. And,
see, when I'm off of the show, this is the difference between me and Bernd. When I'm off of the show, for me, art is like, oh my god, that's adorable. Like when I'm on the show and like and when I'm looking for stuff in the show, I really enjoy looking in terms of like details and what we do. But usually when I'm just chillaxing back, I just look for like straight up adorable, and this picture is straight up adorable. So there
the
you
little
go.
snot bubble and everything.
Can't even control myself, man. Like, just let's move on. Let's move on.
Speaking of snot bubbles, there was another one come out recently by Lionheart Cartoon, that animation. That was amazing. Shout out to one of our previous guests.
Oh, yeah. So if you'd like to follow one of our previous guests in our previous episode, their project, Children of Night, is coming along quite nicely. You should go check out their blog. It's really
They're getting close to finishing, apparently.
They keep releasing updates, and they look so awesome.
All right. Well, I think that's everything for today. I'd like to, first of all, formally congratulate Bernd on his birthday, because I think that's really awesome, and, you know, people should be happy about that.
I've been staring at that picture of the vector for the entire episode.
Yeah, the birthday vector. That's great. And I'd also like to...
I looked at the completed one, I thought it was me carrying that balloon, but I was disappointed when I found out it was Zoo.
No, it was Zoo. Yeah. You'll have to put like the names of everyone. You'll have to put the names of everyone, like, so you can include our.
You're having too much fun with this.
Yeah. I'd also like to formally apologize because we're currently in the middle of it, but I guarantee you this is the hardest podcast that anyone has ever had to edit. So, thank you for taking on the challenge. Thank you for taking over the editing for me this week. I've made it extremely difficult for you, but you are up to the challenge. And I believe in you. But other than that, I think we're basically done. Is anybody else? Oh, we need to plug our stuff.
I'm gonna do my little 5 minutes of plugging and stuff.
Yes.
Okay, do it. We've got an email account, as you probably would know if you've seen any of our previous episode. It is cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. That is the place to go if you want to send us links to art, or if you have any questions for us, anything like that you want to send to us. Send it through there. cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. Please put what you're sending us in the description. So if it's a question, put question in the title, in the subject of the email. I always get that wrong. Put question in the subject of the email, or put art in the question in the subject of the email. The way that we've got it set up, it automatically sorts things into folders for us, so it's easy to find.
We need some stuff. We need some questions. We need some more.
We do need questions. It's getting hard to make stuff up.
Last week you guys were really good with it because you guys knew the theme and you just pumped through it and gave us a few things. But we can always use questions and stuff.
Ooh.
We'll do that. I know what you're about to say, Flutter Guy, but we'll do it after.
What's it?
Anyways, continue on.
Yeah, if you send us an email and we don't respond to you, please don't be offended because it's not on purpose. It just means that nobody's checked it for a day or two.
I'll start replying more to the emails and back to your questions. So go ahead.
Get your reading glasses on, folks.
Okay.
Yeah. We've also got our DeviantArt page, which is cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com. That all four of us run. We're all part of that. links to our individual pages and stuff are there as well. Send us notes, do whatever you want through there. That's probably our most active way if you want to get, instant feedback or anything. Contact us through that way.
Actually, if that's sorry, I'd just like to correct you. The DeviantArt page is great for you to go and check out all of the art that we have, favorited. If you want to see any of the art that's featured on the show in these
stuff that
weeks,
we thought was good but didn't get in.
Right, that's all going to be there. If you want instant feedback, we've got another service for you. I run our Twitter account. It's at Cutie Art Crusade. And if you want instant feedback, like not instant feedback, like I'm going to respond to you any time of the day, because that's not how it works.
That's what he meant. Do it.
But I mean,
send him a message at 3 a.m. He will respond.
But I mean, like, for example, if you want like up to the date info, like on our live streams, or I post some stuff about when we're recording or different themes about that stuff. That's where you're going to go. And if you want more of a direct response, we haven't had that many people contact us directly on Twitter. Chances are, if you contact us on there, I'm going to respond to you. It's going to be me. And
you're probably one of the few.
Yeah.
We also have a Facebook page, which is Cutie Art Crusaders on Facebook.
There's been a few people
which I kind of run.
Yeah, a lot of people have been liking us on there. It's been really nice.
Some confident bronies out there.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. That's it for the
Okay,
plugs,
one
right?
thing for our theme next week is flying. Send us stuff relating to flying. I want it. Do it.
Right.
Do it, Philly.
Yes.
So for flying, obviously, just send in anything that has to do with flying. It can do with ponies themselves, maybe.
Does Scootaloo count?
Well, she can't fly.
She doesn't fly.
No, but
no chicken art,
yes.
please.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this episode we had
her trying to fly.
Unfortunately, we asked you guys to send in some water ones, but we had some really awesome ones lined up already. We're gonna try to really this week take a look through that email and pick some ones out that you guys send to us. So make sure you send us an email at
cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com.
Fantastic. All right. Well, that's all that we have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed this special long episode. You can thank Bernd for that. You can also thank Bernd for editing this fantastic podcast.
I'm the editor now.
This isn't the longest one we've done though.
It isn't? Which is the longest one we did?
No. This is only an hour and 10. I think we did what?
End the episode.
Now he's starting to feel it. Yes, feel my pain. Let it flow through your veins.
The longest one we did was that interview with Spirit of a Nighthawk.
Oh, that's
right.
True. Anyways, yeah. Let's get this show on the road. Thank you guys for watching again. Our episode next week is flying, so send us in stuff for that, and we'll see you guys then. And my name is Rainbow Plasma.
I'm Burned01.
I'm Flutterguy317.
And I'm Pinky Dash. Yay me.
We'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Bye.
Yep.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.